It's not often that we get to hear from a legend, a person who has made a mark on this world in many ways, but we are going to see several sides of a multifaceted, highly talented, extremely dedicated man. Art Linkletter is talking with Jill right now. Jill?
Peter, it's really hard to know where to start, but of course most of us are well aware of Art Linkletter's pioneering career in broadcasting. But Art Linkletter, the businessman, is extremely successful too. And what about Art Linkletter, the sportsman? He's an accomplished hiker, swimmer, surfer, and skier. But most of all, he's a humanitarian, and that is what brings him to South Florida. It's such a great privilege to have you on our show.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you, your interest right now is in reaching out to youngsters.
Yes, drug abuse
drugs.
And kids having emotional and mental problems. I am a national spokesman for Charter Medical. It has about 80 hospitals that take care of children's problems from 3 to 21, and for grown-ups too. And these are problems that come from modern living, the pressures of life, as well as chemical dependency, which is most likely to be very, very difficult between the ages of 13 and 21, but which really begin as little as 7 and 8 with early experimentation.
Isn't that scary? Years
Frightening.
Years and years ago, when we all watched you on a house party and you interviewed the kids, they always said the darndest things.
That's
and
right.
You've written about that. But kids today live under an entirely different set of pressures, don't they?
Yes, we must not forget, however, that most kids are okay. We're hearing about, as we do with news, and you know that's the complaint. You're always saying the bad things, but that's what's the minority. That's the unusual. I would say that no more than 8 or 10% of the kids are in any kind of serious trouble with drugs, but that's too many. That's millions. In fact, teenagers today are living in very perilous times. 1 million of them, as you know, girls in high school today, a year getting pregnant. About 1 million are running away from home every year, 1 million. About 700,000 are dropping out of high school, which is a tragedy. More than half of all the serious crimes in the United States are committed by kids under 21 years of age, and suicide among young people has risen 150% in the last few years. So that shows us that there are pressures, emotional disturbances, seeking security or fun or happiness through drugs. And probably the most interesting thing I could tell you about high school kids is this. If a girl or a boy does not smoke or drink, the chances of them being in any drugs is minimum. The gateway to drugs is smoking and drinking.
You talked with kids here last night, is that right?
This morning I talked to 900 high school kids.
Oh, where were you? Which high school? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
But there were 900 of them.
Yes, and as I looked out over the audience, I decided I'd open the talk by saying, Buenos dias, me llamo Arturo Linkletter. And they all laughed because there were a great many from Nicaragua and Cuba and so forth. And then I talked to them about the problems of drugs, and I told them very frankly, as I do all high school students, I've not come here to tell you not to use drugs. That's your problem. That's your decision. It's your life. Nobody can live it but you. I'm going to tell you things that'll help you make a better decision, and I hope you make the right decision.
And what is something that you tell them then when you want to help them make that better decision?
I tell them that if they experiment, they're risking the whole future of their life, because you never know which ones are going to genetically or otherwise be predisposed to become a drug addict. And we know now that as alcoholics, some people can drink, some can't, but you never know who is who till you try it, and then it's a little late, especially with tough drugs, cocaine and heroin. But I also tell them that the main problem in life for young people is, like all of us, they want to be happy and have fun all the time. And when life isn't fair, or when something happens where they're depressed, or they're angry, or they're disappointed, that they shouldn't run to the medicine cabinet for any kind of pills. Sleeping pills, aspirin, anything. Tough it out, because learning to live is learning to accept failure and to go on from that. And that's the hardest lesson any of us, young or old, can learn.
Do you think at all, you certainly, your career spanned many decades in television, and do you think, though, that maybe television contributed some to modern-day kids expecting an instant solution to their problems, which is something that sometimes drugs offers them?
Well, of course it is. Television and radio and advertising gives you instant solutions to everything, and quick and neat and all packaged and tied up. And of course it also exposes kids to a very exciting lifestyle in which gratification is more important than anything else. Get it now. may not be around.
Like life in the fast food lane.
Exactly.
Let me ask you something, too. You are not a recognized face by a lot of young people. Do they really listen to you?
Oh, they listen to me because I spent 26 years, every day of the week, 5 days a week on a CBS network, talking to kids. And I've spent many years since then. I was originally a school teacher, and I still am on the board of colleges, and I spend time with kids. I know how to talk to them, how to get their attention, how to hold them, and perhaps something that every parent should take note of, I know how to listen to them. When I'm talking to them, I'm doing just what I'm doing with you right now. I'm looking right in their eyes, and my attitude is that they've just brought me the 10 Commandments from the Mount, no matter how outrageous their statements, how ridiculous.
How can you maintain that interest? You're 74 years old, right?
Am I?
Well, the literature, the biography said that you were.
Of course I am.
A lot of people who are 74 years old have very little patience for children, and the kind of interest that you've maintained for your whole life. What's that secret?
Well, it's very simple. I'm basically a kid, and when I talk to kids, they recognize we're on the same mental level, and away we go. I get down to their level, and I ask them questions that aren't presumptuous, that we're different.
In 1969, your own daughter fell and was killed, and there were some connections to drugs, and that's the reason that
Yes.
you have taken this campaign on for many, many years.
20 years.
How did you get to the point where you could talk about that in public?
Because it's great therapy to talk about a great loss, especially when you have something to say that may help other people. So I lost my tragic loss of equilibrium and mental and emotional stability in helping others, and I think that's the greatest thing any of us can do. I said, this is what happened to me. I'm going to talk about it and tell you, so it won't happen to you. You are not safe. We had 5 children, no problems with 4. We had a Christian, non-drinking, non-smoking, steady, stable household. It happened to me. Don't sit there and think that because you're graduated from college that you're making $50,000 a year and that you live in a nice neighborhood and you're a Baptist that you're safe, or a Catholic or anything else. Nobody is safe. Life today is full of mines and traps, and you've got to be understanding and sympathetic and watchful and knowledgeable. Do you realize that of all the children in trouble across the United States today in drugs, the average was 2.5 years they were in trouble before their parents found out about it? Imagine living with a kid whose lifestyle is changing, habits are changing, grades are changing, friends are changing, clothes are changing.
It's all changing.
And you don't think anything about it.
It's important for you, Art Linkletter, to help us think about it. Thank you for your courage and your role model for all of us. Thank you very much.
Delighted to be here.
Peter?
Coming up, reaction to the latest movie about the Vietnam War. We'll take a look when we come back.